Hello everyone and welcome to another video. As you may hear on my voice, I'm really at the edge of getting sick, so my voice is already on the way of quitting, I think. I just want to talk quickly about looping, and I really started digging into looping 3 years ago, and since then I really figured out a certain workflow. And when you have a looper, you have really instant access to play around with different ideas. It's so easy. Get just a simple chord progression into the looper and then just experiment with different interplays of pedals. And over the course of those years, my pedal board was changing quite a lot, but the setup I have is getting more and more stable, and I don't exchange pedals that much anymore. If I do, it's more because of fun and not because I need my setup to be better than it is right now. So anyway, when I loop, there are 4 main sounds, 4 use cases, and 4 things I do with my guitar just to get really dense layers and just to build soundscapes. The first layer, or the first of those 4 examples, is chords. I can just start off pretty simple with sometimes that's just enough. For chords like those, I just use a clean guitar or a slightly overdriven guitar, run that through reverb and delay. The dry guitar would sound like this, but it immediately sounds like something is missing because the guitar has no context in which it sits. In my case, I mean, it doesn't have a room that it sits in. So choosing a reverb dictates the environment the guitar sits in. You may hear or may not hear it, but for me, it totally makes a difference if it's a rather large room or just a small room with a short decay. A reverb sound like this, with a sound like this, I lean more into a direction where I think, okay, I need longer delays, I need a longer decay on the reverb. And then it's just fun to add things like Fable, just to space that out even more. So that's just the first thing for me. It's just one layer. Usually it's just related to a simple chord progression. Then I just think about, okay, how to get that even further. I don't have to take Fable, for example. I'm just fine using a delay and a reverb after. And when I'm done with that chord progression, I have the next thing, which is I can add a bass line to this. And for a bass line, I leave the reverb engaged, disengage the special cranker, for example, and engage the electric Harmonix pitchfork. That one also has the expression input, so I can use it as a whammy, and that really does everything that I want from it. The clean sound is like this. I tend to use the middle position where both pickups are engaged a lot when I just try to use the guitar as a bass. So it sounds like this, and with the pitchfork added, and then I can just add the special cranker. Which on its own sounds a little bit too distorted maybe, but in the context of chords which are already going on at some point, it doesn't matter that much, and it just helps to fill out certain frequencies, and it doesn't sound bad like it does on its own. So that's the bass sound. I usually don't use pedals like delay, Fable, or mood or gen loss when I emulate a bass. Mostly it's just pitchfork, reverb, and special cranker on it. After the pitchfork, the third kind of effect that I use when looping is after chords and after having the guitar act as a bass are just single notes. And when I have some chords going, then I just look out for a nice melody, and mostly I just improvise what I have in my head, or I improvise on certain sections of the fretboard where I feel comfortable, because I'm not really the most technical player. And as I said in another video, theory-wise, I don't have any idea what to do here. So yeah, then I just start to use single notes or melodies. And for that part, I always use a reverb and a delay. And sometimes when I feel like it, and I think that's not really enough, because when I will play things like this, then there's just a lot of space between notes, so I can add Fable just to fill out the space. And I really like to have something like that going, either the Fable or the microcosm, because it's really like, it's like a partner in the songwriting. I have a setting on mood where I use mood as a reverb, but use it more as a, I don't know if it's the right term, but more of a granular reverb, and it sounds like this. So I have no delay engaged at this point, but you can hear the reverb. There are all those little small delay taps, and you can start to just smear them together and get reverb sound out of mood. But in this case, let me disengage the reverb. When I add Fable, that mood helps just to space that out. Without mood, it's just mono in the center, and with mood, the notes are just starting to just dancing in the stereo field. I really like that. So at this point, mood is not really, it's not an effect like a delay on its own. It's just a way for me to spread a mono signal into the stereo field. For an effect, I have a preset for a reverse delay, and that would be more of an obvious effect. And running Fable into that makes it even I wouldn't say that it's weird right now, but the combination of those can be really, really nice. Yeah, that can be really nice, especially adding a reverb after and the delay that I used before. And now those pedals do a lot on their own, but the thing is, it's not like the pedals are making the music. It's my decision how every pedal is set up, and it's my decision which pedals are engaged at which point, and I know how certain pedals interact with each other. So having a board which makes sounds like this, it makes it really fun to play, but it's not like you just hit a chord and you have an instant song. That's really not the case. At least in my case, it's not my way of songwriting. I have a really basic thing going on with single notes, with the bass line, and with some chords, and I use those pedals just to fill out the little gaps between the notes that I play. So that's the third thing to do for me. So we have chords, we have a bass line, and we have single notes, which sometimes are just run. Sometimes I just run through some of those pedals to make it a bit more interesting. For example, adding the Granulars. I really like that sound, and sometimes it helps when I play just a clean guitar over clean guitar over clean guitar. Then for me, it's just boring to not that boring to listen to, but I think sometimes it's a little bit of interest missing, and then I just start to add some flickering things from Fable, or get some really murky stuff with Granulars, but play the notes more sparsely, and just adding tiny amounts of melody here and there just to not overdo it. And yeah, that's for the third layer or the third sound. And the fourth sound is our drones, or just textural layers, if you will, a textural carpet which just plays underneath everything. And for that I have a few options just to come up with stuff like this. So I could run Fable completely wet and play just some chords. And that's the thing, those are, you can clearly hear the notes in there, but the notes are not melodies. They are not standing in the foreground that much. I could just record some of those notes, and as soon as I start to add more, then that will become the main melody, and that's just really the soundscape context. So I can use Fable if I raise feedback and regeneration. Then it goes on a little bit long for a little bit longer. I can run that through that reverb preset that I had. And that just starts to fill out the stereo field. Adding another delay. So that's it for texture, or I can use something like a drone, and for that I just use the Microloop side of Mood, and run it through the reverb algorithm. So now the reverb side, the old blood side, is just listening to the loop side with the toggle in the middle. It was listened to both, but for demonstration purposes I start here. So I start to just play some random notes. And take a listen. And on this side, this side is running forward, but I like to run it backwards and decide if I wanted to have something slow going on in the background like this one. I can speed it up using the clock knob. Or speeding up the reverse and speeding it even further with the clock knob, or just slowing it down. But I like to have something like that going on. Engage the reverb side. And with that, I just start to kill the tech a bit. And when I now start to move the modify knob, then the movements and the pitch changes are blending together pretty nicely. Then I engage a delay after, which just helps to fill out even more space. I hope that I didn't hit the mic that much. So use it like this, maybe do a little overdub with some high notes. Okay, that wasn't that perfect, but for demonstration purposes, I think it's enough. And now when I start just to use the modify knob, then you can hear that the attack isn't that instant and it takes a second just to react. So now just let me demonstrate all of those 4 sounds. So I start with, I start off recording a layer with those, with that drone from Mood. Then I just start to come up with some chords, add a bass, and then just improvise some single notes. And hopefully that's not going that bad. So the 22500 is already running. I just wait for the light to indicate the start and the end of the loop, and then it just play, then I just press play on step. So step is now running. So now I can just press record, just manipulate mood while recording. Okay, now press record. Okay, now that's recorded, and just start to incorporate some of those sounds. So now let's go back to the main setting in Mood. Now I let the 22500 record the blank layer, which is double the length of the first track. Since I'm not that sure how long the chord progression will be, and if it's going to be exact the length of the first loop, or if I think, okay, there are just 2 chords fitting onto the loop, and I think I need 4 chords. So now I have both loops running, and then I just can start. So now I can start improvising and decide which pedals to engage. It's just the delay and the reverb at this point, so. Okay, so I think the idea was pretty good to record double the length, so let's record that. Okay, it's just a simple chord progression going on. Now I could just improvise single notes at this point. So those are the 3 techniques I use to fill a loop, and now the fourth one, which is missing, is adding a bass. For that I just leave limelight on and the reverb, and then I just decide add the special cranker or not. So let's have a listen. That sounds pretty good so far. Let's try the special cranker. Okay, I think I should leave it off. Now record those 4 layers, and it's on me to decide whether I will go on or if I just leave it this way. And when I want to add more songs, then I have to play something, obviously, which isn't playing right now, so I have to listen for those little gaps inside the loop to add some more points of interest. Or I can use those gaps just to add another melody on top. Pretty sure you heard that chorus moment when I played the same thing that I did in the first run. But I hope you also realized that I waited for little gaps to happen where I can play in those little notes, and just adding something like Granulars just shifts the frequency of the guitar and can add another point of interest, which isn't that intrusive, but I also have to be careful not to overdo it. And usually I just start by looking up for small notes. Yeah, really, that's it. That's mostly what I do. That's what I do most of the time. Those are the four basic sounds, which I just decide which of those to grab. And after that I have more sounds just to add on. But for me that's more advanced stuff, and those are just the basic ones. I think everyone who has a pedal board like this has just more than 4 go-to pairings with pedals, and the same for me, but those are just my 4 most used ones. And I think when I would just go on and then illustrate all of the other combinations that I have in my head, then that video would really be a long one. So I think I just leave it this way and don't talk myself further into missing vocabulary. So thanks for your time, thanks for watching and having a listen, and see you in the next video.